Hello and welcome to another video. Alan from London, Japan here. And in this video I want to talk about something that I think is very relevant at this point. There's a record number of visitors coming to Japan due to the VPN, and especially after COVID. I think the tourism industry has kind of exploded in Japan since that time. So seemingly every year it seems to be breaking the record. So with that in mind, I thought it'd be a good idea to do a video on just some advice for basically if you're visiting Japan, some things to know, some useful pieces of advice, and to hopefully try and make your stay here a little bit more enjoyable and hassle-free. And there's a lot of videos like this on YouTube already that are quite comprehensive and go in depth, but what I wanted to do is just focus on a handful of pieces of advice and handful of suggestions, the ones that I believe are kind of most, personally, that I think are most important, and also because I kind of base this off of kind of what I'm seeing. I lived in Japan for 10 years, so I see a lot of tourists and I kind of see some of the behaviors and things like that, so I can kind of, to me, this is kind of where I feel you can get, let's say, like most bang for your buck in terms of advice. So it's going to be relatively short, so let's get right into it. First, and I think honestly the most important, is just to learn some very, very basic Japanese phrases, things that really you kind of should know if you're going pretty much traveling anywhere, things you should know in that local language. These are things like, please, thank you, excuse me, I'm sorry. So learn how to say those phrases, and I'll go through each one of those. So for please, word for please is onegai shimasu. So I will have these written out on the screen as well, so you can kind of see the writing of it in Romaji. And so when would you use this? So as an example, let's say you are in a restaurant and you want to get the check. You could say okaike onegai shimasu. So okaike is the word for like check, and then onegai shimasu is to say please. So check please. And I will also kind of cover this as well in my other tip as well in a few minutes here. Next, everybody probably knows how to say thank you in Japanese, or at least one form of it, and that is arigato gozaimasu. So pretty straightforward. The usage, very self-explanatory there. The reason I wanted to kind of mention this one is because there's something I do see when I'm out and about, and that's people basically just saying, like, for example, in a restaurant, they will just say, arigato. While that's not technically incorrect, just arigato is considered casual speech, which means that's something you would use with people you're close with, like friends, family, people that you know well. But when talking to people you have just met, you don't know very well, or service staff, you should use the full phrase, which is arigato gozaimasu. So granted, if you're a foreigner, I'm sure as a tourist, nobody's going to tell you that you're using casual speech or anything like that. They're not going to get offended necessarily. So you kind of get a bit of a pass. But if you want to kind of say it properly, you should be saying arigato gozaimasu. So next, let's say I'm going to say excuse me. The word for that is sumimasen. And again, I'll tie this into a situation of, let's say you're in a restaurant, you're trying to get the waiter's attention. Generally, you can go ahead and just, raise your hand, or just basically say in a slightly raised voice, sumimasen, and that generally will call the staff over. Yeah, again, very straightforward, very easy. And then lastly, one more usage example for sumimasen is, like, let's say you're riding the train and your exit is coming up, the train is kind of crowded, and you want to get off at the exit, but there's people in the way. If you say, sumimasen, generally on a train when you do that, people will assume, you would like to exit, so they will kind of try to make room for you to go ahead and be able to exit the train at that stop. And lastly, the good word to know obviously is I'm sorry, and the word for that is gomen nasai. Gomen nasai. So again, pretty straightforward when you can use that. If you need to apologize for something, say you ended up bumping into somebody, walking around, because Tokyo can get crowded. So yeah, if you do that, you can turn to the person and just say, "Oh, gomen nasai." So that they know that, hey, look, you bumped into them, you're sorry, go on your way. So those are kind of the first things you should know, because honestly, they're very simple to learn, but you will find a lot of occasions to use them, and I think to Japanese people, even just knowing those simple words, I think they will be very appreciative that you're at least making the effort. The next thing I want to talk about, and this is again something I observe quite a bit, is, I think is also important as well, is train etiquette. So what do I mean by that? So when you're traveling in Tokyo or any big city in Japan, most of your transportation is probably going to be with a train. So there's certain behavior and etiquette that's expected if you're riding a train, that generally Japanese people tend to follow, and you probably should as well. So first and foremost, don't be loud. Have things like, playing music on a Bluetooth speaker or whatever, or on your phone very loudly, having very loud conversations, things like that. It's perfectly fine to talk on a train to the person, next to you, but do it in a way where, it's reasonable volume, you're not bothering other passengers, basically. Next, don't take up multiple seats. Trains can get busy, so what does that mean? Don't spread out so much that you're taking multiple seats. Don't put your luggage onto the seat next to you. If you have a backpack or something, either put it in your lap. If the train is not crowded, put it at the bottom of your feet, or just put it in the overhead, essentially luggage storage that's above all the seats. So there's plenty of space usually there. It's not really used that much. So if you need somewhere to put your bag, that's the best way to do that. And then lastly, every train cart in Japan has priority seating, and these seats are meant for the elderly, they're meant for pregnant women, they're meant for those with disabilities. And if the train is getting crowded, make sure that you are letting those seats go to those that need it. If you find that, hey, there's nobody using it, there's nobody there, and you're in it, that's totally fine. But if somebody then boards the train and they are one of those groups I mentioned, it is polite for you to basically at that point give up that seat to the person that needs it the most. And again, I think this is really important just because, again, you're going to be riding the train everywhere in Japan, so knowing how to behave properly, I think, is important as a way to fit in. And my next point that I want to talk about is be considerate to the service staff, whether that's in a restaurant, cafe, Starbucks, whatever. Don't expect the staff to speak English. They will make an effort. If they see that you don't speak Japanese, those that are able to, they will try to speak very basic English, or some can speak very good English, but it'll depend location on location. What I'm saying is, don't come in with the expectations that everybody will. So if they do, great, that's awesome, no problem, but don't go into a Starbucks and expect them to be able to understand your ordering in English. So be able to order in Japanese. Learn some basic Japanese that you need to do that. Like, it can be very, very simple. So a lot of the times all you need to be able to say, they will have menus with pictures and things like that. You can point to the thing you want and just say "kore onegaishimasu," which basically just means "this please." So that's about as complicated as you need to make it. And again, like I mentioned, in the restaurant, you can do the same thing. When it's time to get the check, you can say "okaike onegaishimasu," or a lot of the times you can basically just do this, and it's just like "okaike," where you do that. Basically, that's a sign for, "Oh, check please." So just learn a little bit of basic Japanese to be able to order, so that in situations where they do not speak English, you are still able to be served. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because I've seen this a fair amount, is people getting angry with the staff that they don't speak English, which makes no sense to me. You are in Japan. There should be no expectation for them to speak English to you. The native language here is Japanese, and I think it's on you to learn their language, not the other way around. The same way if they went into the US and they went to a Starbucks, they would not expect the staff there to speak Japanese to them. So just a little bit of courtesy, a little bit of consideration, and it's really not difficult to learn those basics. So yeah, service in Japan is fantastic generally, But again, you cannot have that expectations that they will be able to accommodate every language that tourists might speak when coming here. So please be considerate, be nice to the staff. They're very busy, their job can be very stressful, and just knowing a little bit of Japanese to be able to order will make your life and their life a lot easier. And the last thing I want to talk about is just like a little bit of a catch-all rule. And what do I mean by that? So this is something I've done a lot when I came to Japan. There's a lot I knew about Japanese culture and how to do things, and just because I've done research, I visited a bunch. But there's obviously going to be a lot of situations where I didn't know what to do. So what do you do in those situations? Well, the best piece of advice I can give you is just observe and do what the locals do. So, this applies to a restaurant, to anywhere you go to. If you're not sure how to act, just look around you, see what the natives are doing, and then do the same. And this tends to be very, very effective. So, instead of scrambling, kind of panicking, not knowing what to do, like most of the time, just wait for somebody else, see what they're doing, and then do the same, and you'll pretty much be good to go. So that's it. I want to leave it there, and just to conclude, why did I make this video is, well, it's very simple. Like, the way you as a visitor tend to act when you visit Japan, it tends to affect how others are treated as well. So, that's even more important for those of us who live in Japan and call Japan home. And I do think just by following some simple advice like this, it can make your life much easier, and ensure that you have a much more pleasant experience, and basically that your stay is going to be much more enjoyable. If you have any questions or would like more in-depth videos on topics like these, please comment below. And if you like the video, please like, subscribe for more, and I'll leave it there. Until next time, bye from Tokyo. Mata ne.